You're listening to The Manning Report with your host, James David Manning. The news behind the headlines.
Number one, our title here today is why rape or incest children should not be killed or aborted. Now, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to tell you why, what my thinkings are, because this bill, they're saying that the bill is draconian and that it's just out of step with modern America and women's body ought to be this, that, the other, and they need to choose. And so between her doctor and her. I notice these women says between me and my doctor. What about that guy that knocked you up? Well, knocked up is not a nice word to say, but it gets to using the term knocked up gets the job done. I guarantee you that. But they never says between me and my man or the man that knocked me up. It's between me and my doctor. This bill passed by the Alabama state legislature the other day, last Wednesday. This particular bill, my friend, it'll lock the doctor up for 99 years if he performs an abortion. So this thing is gets really. Let me read the portion of what this article says. Alabama's abortion law isn't alone here. All of the states pursuing the restricted, the new total ban on abortion signed into law in Alabama on Wednesday, that was last week, is the most restrictive abortion legislation in the country. And the reason why, I'll stop reading, is because it does not allow abortions even for rape or incest. And that's the thing I think I want to point out. But there's several other, Missouri, I think Ohio, Georgia, Kentucky, Arkansas, Utah, Iowa, and other, Louisiana. They all have some pretty similar kinds of statutes regarding abortion under no reason, and abortion has been outlawed. But here's the big issue on this whole thing, in case you haven't followed it very closely, because you may have been hearing bits and pieces of it, because they're saying that this bill will challenge Roe versus Wade, and they don't explain it. Well, let me explain it to you. That's why you listen to me. The issue is that this bill, though it's been passed by the Alabama state legislature, and there are other states that we also outlined, and just a moment ago we called their states out, potentially have similar kinds of bills or passing similar kinds of bills. But the reason why this bill, perhaps in Alabama, may be illegal is because the Supreme Court has ruled in 1974 that Roe versus Wade allows a woman to have an abortion in any state at any time for any reason. Now they've been chopping away at, this segment and how many, the fetus and how many trimesters and all that kind of stuff. But primarily the overarching federal law, constitutional law, allows a woman to have abortion anywhere at any time. Alabama has taken the step to state that there shall be no abortions in the state of Alabama. The issue here is that can that bill be enforced? Because if the federal government says that abortions are legal in every state, including Alabama, Alabama cannot write a law that usurps the Supreme Court law, because that's a law. The Supreme Court is the law of the supreme law of the land. You got me so far? Yeah. So here's what's going to happen. Here's what they're thinking. They know that they're not going to be able to enforce this bill right away, though it's been passed by both houses of the state of Alabama legislature and also signed by the governor in the state of Alabama. But here's the deal. The deal is this, is that what they're hoping is that they would try to enforce this bill and someone will bring them to court, the state of Alabama to court, saying you can't do it. It'll go to the Alabama State Supreme Court, and then from there it'll have to go to the U.S. Supreme Court, where the U.S. Supreme Court can figure out if this bill is legit or not. And this bill, so you've heard people talk about this bill is set to overthrow Roe versus Wade. There are a lot of questions here. That since Judge Brett Kavanaugh has been established as the fifth conservative judge, what they're hoping to have happen here is that they can now get Roe versus Wade, which is stare decisis, or established law, a settled law, stare decisis, that as a settled law that Alabama's law can now overturn Roe versus Wade, and they can go back to having abortions or not having abortions on demand. So this is what this is all about. So even though this bill is passed, I'm not sure Alabama can put this bill into law right away. And it's pretty draconian according to what their terms are. I think that giving a doctor 99 years for performing an abortion, it might be a bit draconian. But beyond that, let me tell you why it's not draconian to say that abortion for a rape or incest it should not be permitted. And it's a very brief statement that I have to make about this, and I pray it'll help all of us get settled on this matter. Because primarily, if a woman gets raped, right, and she conceives in that rape process, and she finds out a week or so later, sometime later, however how long it was, that she's pregnant, and she knows that she got raped, she doesn't want to have the child because the man that raped her was a criminal, somebody, she didn't want to bear children for that man. But now she's got his child in her body. Should she be able to give an abortion? The answer is no. You say, well, why, Pastor, man? That's pretty hard-hearted. That woman didn't want to have sex with that man. He performed a criminal act. He should be killed himself for raping her. And that's true. Want me to kill him? I'll kill him. Tell me who it is. Give me a gun. I'll shoot him in the head. Right? But that still does not mean that the woman should be able to kill the baby that's in her womb that came as a result of the rape. You say, well, Pastor Manning, I don't understand that. Because listen, this woman, she didn't want to have this baby. She didn't want to bear. Why should she want to give birth to a baby of a fool that raped her? Let me say something to you. Can I talk to you? Calm down, calm down, calm down. Let me talk to you. The child that's in her womb is still a child. It's still a life, everybody. It's still a life. It's still a life. The way it was conceived is draconian, it's horrific, it's barbaric, it's awful. If you want me to kill the guy who did it, I'll do it. Show him to me and I'll shoot him in the head. But the baby had nothing to do with that. The child that's in the woman's womb had nothing to do with that. It's still a life. Who knows? Maybe somebody raped your mama. You don't know. Mama's baby, daddy's maybe. I don't know. I just scratch that. So forget I said that. Forget I said that. All right? Forget I said that. But here, the child is still a child. And the same thing for incest. Well, incest means when let's say your wicked uncle rapes you, or your father. A lot of these Catholic women fathers rape their daughters. I don't know if y'all know about that. These people are way off the chain out there. Woo! So your father had sex with you, and now you got a baby from your father, right? And you don't want to be your child's sister. That don't make no sense. You're your child or sisters, because your father's the one that gave you the baby, right? But it's still a child, right? It's still a child. It's still a life. It's still so what's up? Well, here's what the story is. Give the child away. Don't abort the child. There are a whole lot of people who can't have children for whatever reasons. Put the child up. Give the child life. Do what you can do. Two wrongs ain't gonna make a right here. Put the child up for adoption, right? Put the child up for adoption and have the child. You can have the child adopted. And that's it. You don't ever see the child no more, even though the child's gonna be your sister. Let me guess. I am okay. All right. Okay. Put the child up for adoption, right? Incest child, rape child. Put them up, and there are lots of places of people who want to adopt children. Of course, I'm not sure about dealing with these adoption agencies. They're in they're the peddling of flesh business. I mean, these adoption agencies, they peddling, some of them peddling flesh, but that's another story for another time. We'll cover that in another segment. We'll do a whole segment on these adoption agencies and the powers that are given to them through the courts and the money that's given to them to dispense of that. But don't kill the child just because you got raped. You see what I'm saying? Because it's still a life. And you got to watch out because, if your mama had aborted you, then what? I wouldn't have to deal with you. The world would be rid of one less problem if you. Okay, now let me put that. I'm just. What's happening to me here today? Anyway. So you get the idea, right? It seems like, so you hear it on the news, you can't even have an abortion if you've been raped or the incest. You ought to be able to get rid of that unwanted pregnancy. No. Give the child up for adoption. I almost said it again. Give the child up for adoption. And that's it. And walk away and never come back again. And there's some parent will love that child like it's their very own. So what's the option here? The option is to kill it, which is an abortion. You're going to kill it, you have an abortion. You're going to kill it. Or you can let it live and let it live with some other people other than you. You see what I'm saying? So, but this bill, going back to the legalities of this, I don't know if this bill is going to stand. I don't know if the Supreme Court will actually if this bill, if they fight it in the local courts, I don't know that the Supreme Court, Chief Justice Roberts, now that Brett Kavanaugh has been put on, and everybody knows that Brett Kavanaugh ain't got no business sitting on the Supreme Court. Everybody knows that he put on there by that scoundrel Tribulation Trump. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows it. And so I don't know and Neil Gorsuch either. Neither one of these people should be on the Supreme Court because they put on the Supreme Court by a criminal. And I tell you this, when Tribulation Trump gets impeached and it becomes reality of the obstruction of justice and that he's put in office by Russia, I think both Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh are going to have to get off the Supreme Court because they were put on the Supreme Court by a criminal, by a person who was an illegal president. We said the same thing for Obama. Yeah, we might have to just redo the whole Supreme Court. And I think that would be a good idea. Get rid of them two people that Obama put on there too. They need to get rid of them. That's what I think. And what I think is always right, as you very well know. But I don't, a lot of people are saying, and I agree, that even though this bill passed last Tuesday by Alabama's state legislature and signed by the governor of the state of Alabama, I don't see the Supreme Court taking this up. I don't think the Supreme Court is going to argue with this. I think that what's going to happen is that somebody's going to have an abortion and it's going to go before somebody's going to take this matter to trial, and the court is going to rule that the person in Alabama has a right to have an abortion because the Supreme Court overrides any local or state courts. And so that's going to be it. And then what the state of Alabama is going to do, they're going to appeal it to the appeals court. And the appeals court is going to rule that the person who had the abortion had the legal right to have the abortion because the Supreme Court says in Roe versus Wade that abortions are legal in all 50 states. All right. Then they're going to take it from there to the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court, they don't just hear a case just because there's no other court to hear it. They may choose not to hear. If they choose not to hear it, that means that this whole exercise in Alabama is for nothing. If they choose not to hear it. And I don't think Justice Roberts, who makes the decision about what cases they hear and what they don't hear, I don't think he would hear this case. I don't think he'll hear it. That's what I think. I could be wrong. So that means that this whole exercise here that was given by the state of Alabama then becomes futile. It just absolutely means nothing. But on the other hand, I do think that I know rape is an awful thing. It's an awful thing. And I know that incest is an awful thing. You don't want to be the sister to your brother. You don't be the mother of your brother and also the sister to your to your son as well. You don't want to do that. Then give the child up for adoption. Amen. This is a bit of a news blog we do looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.